My name is Mike Deutsch. Some people know me as Otto. Seems like everybody in the brother's name is Mike. I'm fortunate that I get to ride my bike a bunch. Some of my favorite places to ride are Baja in California, Northern California up to the NorCal Cycle Swap. And this one's made the trip a bunch of times. I toss on a set of leather pros, maybe a backrest for my old lady. I jam up and down either, the 101, the 1, the 49, or the 395 and crisscross over the Sierras wherever the weather allows. I think some guys go a little crazy with widgets and doodads and that stuff's cool for show bikes, but I only care about how my bike looks at about 80 miles an hour on the 395. This is my FXR. It's titled as a 1990 FXR. This is my 4th FXR. I think that means I pretty much discovered FXRs, I don't know. Rob Rouser built this bike. Actually, I've been influenced by the guys from the 80s and the 90s that built a lot of cool FXRs. A guy I was lucky to spend a little bit of time with was Winkeller, and I always liked how his bikes, even when they looked cool, they were purpose-built. I try to incorporate a little bit of that into this bike. I had this motor and this front end on another bike. That bike had a salvage title. Made it a little hard to insure and kind of made me nervous sometimes, so I found a frame and some parts in Northern California, and I made the decision to swap all that stuff over. The stuff that was good I kept, and the stuff that wasn't working out right I got rid of. Transmission out of my 93 that I had previously, and it's got an S&S V 111 motor in it. I chose the S&S motor because I had a few 80 inches. Even when they were running good, they were just kind of underpowered once you add a passenger or any sort of traveling luggage. So finally I decided, it was kind of worth the time and the money to save up and get something that's a little bit more reliable. And S&S is the good stuff. It's what keeps me on the road. And this one's been very, very good to me. And it doesn't matter what I have on the back. I can still get on the freeway at 80 or 90, you know what I mean? And I never can tell any of that stuff's back there. So the S&S has been good in that aspect. And with the stock carburetor, it actually gets pretty good mileage too. So I've been impressed and surprised with that configuration, but the mileage is good as well. This one's got about 22, 23, 24,000 miles on it. I don't know exactly because I don't have a speedometer. This front end from Tim at Gigacycle Garage has got about 22, 23,000 miles on it. I did have him recently add those 2-over fork extensions to it, so the proportions would be right. I recently added this Russ Warnemont fairing, and I just thought it looked a little squatty with the shorter legs, so I got Tim to add a couple of his extensions to the front end. I'm a little biased, but I like Biltwell pegs. I'm a big fan of Biltwell bars. I'm a big fan of the Biltwell risers. I've got the pullback risers on this thing. I think they're 12-inch. Even though I'm a taller guy with long arms, I like a little bit of pullback, and those put the bars on a nice position. These are Biltwell mirrors. Hog halter controls. They're one of the few controls I think that are out there that don't look real silly or overdone. If you're not running stock controls, I think these are a good option. I think another thing that old bikes always need upgrading is brakes, motor, suspension brakes. So I guess you change everything on an old bike? I don't know. The Gigacycle Garage front end comes with those Tokiko brakes, which are pretty nice, pretty big. He includes this big old set of floating rotors. I forget what size they are. They're just big AF, so they're a good upgrade, and that really helps. In the back, I think the best thing you can do is just add a floating rotor, and that's just a V-twin power floating rotor. This thing stops as good as any Harley-Davidson I've seen out there. We had these 9 spokes sitting around the shop. Our buddy Elsinore Geronimo, this cat, he polished them up a long time ago. I took them down there to him. He hit them with the buffer again and cleaned them up a little bit. And then I had Hot Dog right down the street, hit them with a little pinstripe on the outer lip to kind of make them appear a little bit bigger than they are. But these are just factory Harley 9-spoke wheels. Right down the hill right here, Hot Dog Customs, Pete Finland. He's helped us out with paint on a bunch of projects. These are original FXR 10s. I really think one of the few things Harley did right with these bikes is they came with cool paint jobs. I really like factory paint. I got this set at the Long Beach Cycle Swap. It's got a couple dents on it. The fender was a little beat up. My buddy Kenny polished it up and matched some of the pinstripes on the rear fender, and Pete painted me a new front fender and with this helmet as well to match. I'm not looking to ride a bass boat. Another part that was on my old bike that made its way onto this bike, and I've had it on several bikes, is this Super Trap 2-into-1. I think the 2-piece design, stainless steel construction, holds up real good with the heat, and the 2-piece design gives it a little bit of wiggle, and I think pipes need to have a little bit of wiggle. It even holds up when you're crashing and sliding down the road. It's been good in that aspect as well. These Fox shocks, again, they were on my old bike, and they're a pretty good part too. They're not super expensive, but they provide a smooth ride. They're easy to adjust. Another product and company and supporter I've been lucky to work with is Booster Brad. He makes these quick release sissy bar brackets. It makes it real easy to toss my sissy bar on there when my girlfriend wants to go for a ride, and it makes it real easy to take them off when she doesn't want to go for a ride. I'm a fan of the Saddleman seat. Usually if a seat looks cool, it's not very good for long distance. If a seat is good for long distance, it's usually stock and ugly is sin. I feel like that Saddleman's a good, comfortable middle ground. Chopper Dave makes these side covers, they're pretty cool. FXR Division hooked up that crash bar. That's a nice slim crash bar. I do on occasion crash, so I'm a fan of the crash bar. I took these Biltwell Mushman pegs and I locked them down permanently into position, and those help with crashing as well. Again, I might end up in the gutter once in a while, so having stuff in place to help with that is a good idea. I'm getting older and it's harder to see at night, and I like people to see me. So I like the Speed King's LED light in the front, and the same thing, I like the little slimmer design of the LED in the back and the smoke tail light lens. Something that's different from this FXR than a stock bike is that I don't have any wires, any stock hand controls. All those have been removed, probably from crashing. Rob Rouser wired this bike. It's wired real simple. I've got a little key switch. I've got a light switch for the Speed King Cycle light, and I've got a voltmeter right here on my dash along with a USB port. If you can't keep your iPhone charged, no one on Instagram is gonna know what you're doing, and if it's not on the gram, it don't mean a damn. Thank you, Jesus.